Welcome into Buffalo Bills Weekly, where we give you an inside look at the Bills each week. He's Chris Brown, I'm Maddy Glab. After 2 straight wins, the Bills had their 3rd loss of the season against Miami. Now halfway through, the Bills are in win now mode if they want to make a deep run in the playoffs, Chris.
Yeah, and look, they had the lead in the AFC East at the beginning of the season. They squandered that with their back-to-back defeats earlier in the season, and now they've put another one in the loss column coming off this Miami loss. They really have to win their next 4 in a row, because you look at the Patriots, they've got the Bengals still without Joe Burrow and the Giants in their next 2 games. Bills have to realistically win the next 4 before the rematch with the Patriots in Week 15.
Bills head coach Sean McDermott said we have to learn from the loss and we have to move forward. Still plenty of games left for Buffalo. Against Miami, the Bills didn't score until the 4th quarter. They had 3 turnovers, were averaging 29 points per game, but scored just 13, their lowest point total of the season. Offensive coordinator Joe Brady said, I put this loss on myself and I have to be better at finding wins for my players. How can Buffalo's offense get back to controlling games?
Yeah, I think Joe Brady was very self-effacing in his press conference coming off that Miami loss. He basically said, I should have gone to the pass game sooner there. And look, you have to be able to pivot to your contingency plans when something's not working. He went too long with the original game plan, didn't pivot. And when you have an MVP at quarterback, you should feel very comfortable pivoting off their league-leading rushing attack. I still think against Tampa, a good run defense, you should still lean into what your identity is, which is the run game. But if you're finding it difficult, pivot to your pass game, because you have Josh Allen, who, as we know, can win games for you all by himself. That's got to be the change there. Pivot quicker in games when things are not working.
Buffalo's offense operates off of feel and rhythm and vibe too. When they score on the opening drive of the game, they're 4-0. It's about scripting the right plays in the beginning of the game to get them on the scoreboard, and then it's like, okay, we're in it, we have the lead.
I think we've also seen too that when they are a little bit out of rhythm or a little disjointed, they've used tempo to kind of get them on track also. So running up to the line of scrimmage to get that next play called, keeping that personnel grouping that you would like to work against on defense on the field, not letting them sub. So I think Joe Brady has to explore those avenues as well. When you like the personnel grouping you're going against, get up on the ball quickly after the successful play, try to run another one, and kind of wear out that defense that's not in an ideal matchup to match up what you're doing on offense.
Something to look out for in the future if Buffalo's offense decides to go more tempo in the second half of the season. The bright spot in Week 10, Buffalo's young defensive backs. Second-year safety Cole Bishop and rookie cornerback Maxwell Hairston each had an interception. Hairston's played in 3 career games and has 2 interceptions. Talk about production. The 2 looked in control when they were on the field. What has impressed you about the way they've grasped a complex defense?
Yeah, I think the amazing thing to me is just how quickly it went from finding my way for Cole Bishop, and then all of a sudden everything just clicked.
Yeah.
And he's turned into this playmaking safety. That's huge for Buffalo's defense, which has been shorthanded the entire season. To have a playmaker like that now on the back end is huge. And then Maxwell Hairston is playing with an untold amount of confidence for what little time he has had on the field. To your point, just a few games under his belt in the NFL. I would like to see Jordan Hancock be the 3rd element of that secondary. Only got 10 snaps last week against Miami. I'd like to see him get more time on the field in these weeks to come, because I think he's going to have to play a role against some of these passing offenses coming up on the back end.
It's like clockwork, Chris. The Bills have a game, a defensive player goes down with an injury. The latest, rookie defensive end Landon Jackson goes down with a knee injury against Miami. The Bills now have 4 defensive linemen on injured reserve, but yet they're putting it together with a top 10 pressure rate.
Yeah, they are still getting pressure on quarterbacks. They're hurrying throws. They're not necessarily getting the quarterback on the ground all the time. That's been kind of a little bit of a fits and starts kind of scenario. But I think we have to be encouraged that despite all the injury losses, they're still getting production up there. Joey Bosa's playing with a club on his hand. That's going to limit him to some degree. I think Dorian Williams is going to continue to be used as a rusher up on the line of scrimmage in obvious passing situations. TJ Sanders, who can provide an interior pass rush presence, you would hope that he can get back on the field soon. He's going to start practicing this week. And then they just signed Morgan Fox, a veteran defensive end, to the practice squad. He's got 15 and a half sacks the last 3 seasons.
Ooh.
He could be up as soon as this week if he is quick on the uptake.
We got to take a break, but when we return, the best sound from the week is coming up next. Later on in the show, Mitch Morse's Morse Code.
Baker, what's your relationship like with Josh Allen, and how has that developed over the years?
I have to walkie-talkie to him because he's so damn tall, so I can't really have a face-to-face conversation with him. But, you know, in Buffalo, it's cold, it's rainy. Even though he's 6'10", his hands are small, so he better wear his gloves.
Baker wears 2 gloves golfing, so he's that type of guy. I love the guy. He's awesome. You know, kind of how his career has progressed and the adversity he's fought through, and playing some really, really dang good football right now. I'm a big fan of his. Anytime I get to watch games, I'm watching what he does because he's very fun to watch. How confident were you? Well, I mean, I don't think it matters what anybody thinks, but he was extremely confident. I've always thought he's an absolute baller, you know, and he's proved that time and time again from the college level till now. And you know, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Very impressed, and you know, and happy for him. He's a heck of a player. You know, it was kind of hard to watch when, you know, the first, you know, situation unfolded the way it did because you just have so much respect for him and his level of play and what he's capable of. And it's a great, to me, example of and I don't know everything, but just how the journey is the journey, and when you stick with it, and you know, you kind of get yourself in the right spot, and how he's played and his impact then, I'm sure, in terms of the example that he is, just even beyond the playing field, right, as a person. I hear stories about his faith, and super impressed by that, and that's what you want to see, right? That's what you want to hear, and that's good for our league, and it's good for, I'm sure, the community down there as well.
You don't take much out of it. We expect to see the best version of Buffalo. They won the division so many times in a row. They got a great quarterback. They got a great team. Sean does a great job with those guys. We're trying to bounce back, and they're trying to bounce back, so it should be a hard-fought game. Everybody's shorthanded in this league. I mean, they're making adjustments just like we're making adjustments. We got to adjust, they got to adjust, and we got to find the right formula and the right people, and we got to play a heck of a ball game, and I'm sure they feel the same way.
I don't think that we really need to change a bunch of stuff. Like a lot of people panic, right? A lot of people panic. A lot of people that aren't in-house will panic and be like, oh, no, what's going on? But realistically, we have all the answers to the test, right? Like even like last game, like if a couple of plays went the other way in the red zone, it would be a whole different outcome, right? So we are where we're supposed to be. We just have to be able to execute when it's time to execute, and keep doing what we do well, and don't rip up the whole, you know, routine book just because of a loss. Stay on course, because we're 6-3. You know, like, that's not bad. You know, we would want to be like undefeated, but we're 6-3. It's not the end of the world, but our flame is hot, right? Like, I'm saying this relaxedly and calmly. Like, the urgency is there for sure, but we know exactly what we need to do.
Welcome back to Buffalo Bills Weekly, where it's time for Morse Code. And Mitch, right after an unexpected loss where you struggle like the Bills did last week against Miami, where does your mind go first as a player as you're pulling your uniform off in the locker room?
Yeah, Chris, it's a gut check for sure. I think not only as a team, but personally, you know, you look at what you could have done better yourself, and then how in the scope of things you could have helped with your side of the ball, the team, whatever. I think right now where we are in the season is going to be a little bit of a coming to Jesus moment, not only as player to player, but as player to team, and coaches to coaches, coaches to players, all sorts of stuff. So sometimes it's the catalyst that you need, especially towards the back half of the season, but it's not a good feeling. And, you know, these guys are competitors. They alluded to what that meant to them and how the Dolphins played, and it's just going to be a huge gut check.
So after turning inward individually, how does then the collective mental mindset get on track through the course of preparation for the next game?
Yeah, you're going to have an uncomfortable week of preparation. And I mean that just intensity is going to be at a premium. Attention to detail is going to be at an all-time high. And it's not going to be a real Charlie F around situation. I think you're going to see guys really hold each other accountable, hold themselves accountable first and foremost, and then get back on track. I mean, it's time. It's a time, and I think if you ask those players, they feel the same way.
I mean, we know the coaches are, going to be busting tail and spending long hours coming up with corrections from last week, number one, and then developing solutions for this week's opponent in Tampa Bay. But to the player-driven leadership that you just spoke about, are we talking difficult conversations in the locker room, challenges out on the practice field? Like, how far does that go to get things back where I guess the veteran leaders on this team believe it needs to be?
Yeah, every team's different. Every situation calls for different types of motivation or types of fires being lit. More than anything, those great leaders year round point to themselves first, and they hold themselves to the highest standard. And then through that, you see those dudes being hard on themselves, the way they attack meetings, walkthroughs, practice, attention to detail. You kind of got to, for a lack of a better term, nut up as a player when you're around those kind of guys, because the last thing you want to do on a team like this, especially in this locker room, is be the guy not holding that standard. And listen, we know these guys have confidence in themselves. They have confidence in the other guys. I think it's just kind of reestablishing a little bit of fun, Chris. I just want to see these guys have a little fun, dude. That breeds execution, man. And when you see that, and when you see these guys come out with a little bit of fire, a little bit of fun because they put the work in, they've had this hard week, and now they get to celebrate that come Sunday, it'll be a beautiful thing.
All right, last one I've got for you here. Fans are all too aware of the state of the AFC East race, with New England still ahead of Buffalo and expanding their lead after Buffalo's loss last week. Does that ever enter the equation in terms of serving as an added motivator, knowing you're the chaser, not the leader right now, and we're getting to mid-November here. We're running out of games.
Yeah, wow, that's a great question. You don't want to make any game too much more than it is, right? You can't gain 4 or 5 games back, and the opponents can't lose 2 or 3 games at once, right? It is just going to be a slow, methodical hammer away. But what it does is it amplifies the intensity and it amplifies the sense of urgency, without a doubt. And I think this locker room, these dudes just have to trust each other, trust what they got, lean on each other harder than they've leaned on each other in the past. And that doesn't mean being at each other's throats by any stretch of the imagination. It's doubling down on the trust in your guys, doubling down on the execution, and more than anything, Chris, it's double downing on just the intensity and the fun, dude. Have some fun. I want to see these guys have some fun because this team can. And when they do, it's an awesome thing to see. And I think we're going to see that come Sunday.
Sound like Josh Allen's grandma. She wants to see him smile more out there.
There's something to it. There's a correlation, pal. I'm telling you. There really is, dude.
All right. Fair enough, Mitch. Thanks for the insight, as always. That's Morse Code. Stay tuned, because coming up next, you're going to get the latest stadium update, how the new Highmark Stadium is prepared for anything Mother Nature is going to deal out late in the season with winter weather. That's coming up next here on Buffalo Bills Weekly.
Welcome back into Buffalo Bills Weekly. I'm Maddy Glab, and I'm now joined by VP of Stadium Development, John Polka, to talk a little bit about everything happening across the street at the new Highmark Stadium. Winter is approaching, John, and with winter approaching, you're going to get some of that snowfall. The Bills have a canopy over their stadium, and you wonder about the snow accumulating over time. There's a snow melt system to help with that. What does the snow melt system do?
So we have not just a snow melt system, the world's largest stadium snow melt system is going in. So obviously this originated from the desire to have fans covered, or a large portion of fans covered as part of the new stadium. So to cover them, we had to put a canopy on. Winter is coming. It is Buffalo. It's Western New York. So obviously there's going to be snow on top of there. We had to come up with a way to melt it. So plans as the design evolved, this became, okay, we're going to have a canopy. We're going to have snow load on there. We have to get it off. That's kind of the origin of it. And then the engineering took over from there.
Okay, going back to the origin story of how the snow melt system came about, what were some of those initial conversations of how are we going to deal with this much snow in the winter?
Yeah, so actually one of the early discussions was, the design of the roof and how are we going to funnel the snow into a location. So for fans who have been out here and seen it or seen the renderings, the canopy is in kind of a V formation.
Yep.
The snow melt system sits at the bottom or the valley of that V.
Okay.
So snow will melt as it gets down there. As that snow melts, more snow that is up top or maybe higher, closer to the eaves, will come down and then melt. So the snow melt system, about 100,000 square feet of snow melt system, exists in the V of that upper canopy.
When it comes to everything that it took to put this system together, there's some high-level engineering in here. So as somebody who is in the mix of all of this, what's the coolest part about the snow melt system for you?
The system as a whole is just very impressive.
Yeah.
Some of the numbers I mentioned, 100,000 square feet of snow melt, which is a crazy number. Maybe even a little bit crazier is the 300,000 linear feet of tubing that goes in to make up that snow melt system. And then the sensors are really cool, right? The technology that goes with it. So there are actually sensors in the roof that will monitor both the temperature and the precipitation so that the system can automatically turn itself on and off depending on what the weather conditions are. And obviously we have the opportunity to override that manually as well. But the system by and large should be hands off. It's going to know when it's cold or when it's snowing and when it needs to turn itself on.
That's nice. We're not going to be calling John Polka at 3 in the morning. The snow is coming down a lot. You need to turn the system off.
Yeah,
That'll be nice to know.
Avoid that.
The stadium opens next year, but as you guys are finishing up this project, winter is going to be here in a couple weeks. We'll probably get some snow in November. So knowing that the construction progress is still ongoing, is the system ready to go? How are you guys dealing with this as you're finishing other parts of the stadium?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. We are in the process of final commissioning of the snow melt system because as the winter approaches, even though the stadium is not open, we do have a snow load that is going to be on it this winter. So in the next couple of weeks, the system will be fully commissioned in advance of this winter.
John, thank you so much for telling us all about the snow melt system. It is definitely interesting and something fans are happy to have a canopy over them so that snow isn't falling on them. We're going to take a break, but when we return, we're previewing this week's game. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Buffalo Bills Weekly. The Bills are back at home for a Week 11 game against Tampa Bay. Both teams are 6-3 and coming off losses. The starting quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield, were drafted in 2018, 6 picks apart. Mayfield went first overall, Allen went 7th. Their success stories are different. Mayfield bounced around between 3 different teams before finding a true fit. Allen stayed put in Buffalo and steadily improved. In 2024, they both had 40 touchdown seasons.
Yeah, and look, since 2024, they're 2 of only 3 quarterbacks with 60 total offensive touchdowns. The other one of their fellow 2018 draft classmates, Lamar Jackson. They've been extraordinary point producers for their offenses going forward here.
Speaking of their offenses, Tampa Bay knows how to play mistake-free football. They have the second least turnovers right now at 5 and the 6th most takeaways at 13. When you're facing a team who knows how to take care of the ball like this, how do you force them into making mistakes?
Well, that's it. You have to force the takeaways because they're not going to give you any. So that means if you're the second tackler in on a ball carrier, look for a punch out. If you're in the pocket and you're squeezing it on Baker Mayfield and he's scrambling around and still looking to throw, he's not going to have it tucked. Go for the strip instead of the sack. Those are the things they're going to have to be mindful of. And when Tampa goes to their 3-step drop pass game, that might be an opportunity for a corner to jump a route and get in front of the ball for an interception.
After not winning the turnover differential battle against Miami, you know this defense and offense are going to want to take it away and take care of the football against Tampa Bay. Buffalo's offense has been without an important weapon for the last 3 games. Wide receiver Joshua Palmer has been dealing with a knee and ankle injury. Palmer's expected to play against Tampa Bay. He adds a deep threat and is a great route runner. How will he diversify Buffalo's offense?
Yeah, for the last 3 games when he has been out, it looks like the Bills' offense plays in a 25-yard box from the line of scrimmage 25 yards down the field. Their only big plays in the passing game have come off of off-script plays when Josh is running around and then just heaves it down the field. So I think Palmer can provide that, and hopefully by stretching the field more vertically, it will open up more opportunities in the short to intermediate areas for players like Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, maybe some backs out of the backfield as well. That's what you're after with Palmer in the lineup.
Tampa Bay's defense ranks 24th, allowing 233 passing yards per game. I expect Buffalo's passing offense to go off. They also signed wide receiver Mecole Hardman to the practice squad. He is a speedy receiver and can have big plays go off at any time in his 7th NFL season.
Yeah, and clocked a 4.33 40 at the combine. Granted, that was 8 years ago, but the guy can still fly. I think it's going to take him time to get up to speed with the offensive system and the passing game, but in the interim, there's no reason you could not use him as a return specialist because he's got over 125 returns in his career, both on kickoffs and on punt returns. And as we know, they've been looking for a better answer there to give Buffalo's offense better drive starts each and every week. Hardman could be that answer.
In the last 6 seasons, the Bills have followed up a 3rd loss with a win. We want to thank you for tuning into Buffalo Bills Weekly. For Chris Brown, I'm Maddy Glab. We'll see you next time.